Years ago, I left a well-paid job to live life on my terms, to be location independent. And the question I get asked most since doing that is, how do I make this work financially? The honest answer is, yeah, it's pretty tricky sometimes. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly what I'm spending each month in the usual categories, as well as how much I'm bringing in on my various income streams, and whether this is actually sustainable. So if you're thinking of doing this, you're going to need to factor in what kind of savings cushion you have, the locations you're planning to be in, and what those relative costs are. Of course, your spending, lifestyle, comfort level, and what enough means what enough means to you. So the big one is going to be obviously the rent or the mortgage. And then you also have utilities, council tax, those types of things, broadband streaming. And if you could remove all of those costs entirely, it would be a game changer, right? So my version of that is I do house sitting mostly full time. And I've calculated that's worth about £1,700 a month to me, nearly $2,300 US. And yeah, those are just costs I simply don't have to pay. And your version might be different. For example, maybe you have a paid off home, or you are thinking about downsizing or moving into a tiny home or a van, or maybe you're going to volunteer in exchange for accommodation. Another option is just moving somewhere really cheap, moving in with family. I also need to say that house sitting isn't free completely. I obviously have to pay for hotels in between sits if I'm not staying with friends. And of course, it is work. I managed to capture the exact moment a cat was about to bring a mouse into the house. No. But overall, it's still transformative, and I'm really loving it. So I've calculated my monthly expenses, and it's just an average from January to present day, which is early June. These are my real figures. So I also want to say, it is expensive, and I don't think I'll be based in England continuously this year, but we'll see. So first of all, we have the groceries, and that is looking like it's about a £220 cost right now. And I've been trying to manage a health situation with better diet. And of course, I'm cooking at home a lot, so that it kind of explains why the eating out and the going out is so low compared to the groceries. Yeah, I mean, if I was eating out a lot more, my budget would be blown. And then we have shopping, and that looks like a lot to me. I don't think it's going to be that high in the future. I do know I bought a new winter coat in the sales, and I bought 2 pieces of tech that are going to be one-offs. They're going to keep me going for the next couple years. So now the housing, that includes hotels in my storage unit. That's probably about right. If I can, I'll bring that down, but it's tricky sometimes. Then we have personal care, so that includes things like if I go to Boots, or if I'm getting a haircut, or I don't know, hygienist, anything like that. And then getting around, that's buses and trains. That I know is going to go up because I have some flights to pay for. And then everything else is just like the bills, subscriptions, anything that's kind of continuous, and that figure is probably about right. So against the £1,700 of house sitting, it feels okay. But it is worth saying that my spending habits have changed a lot. By the way, if any of this resonates with you, drop a comment. I'd love to know what your version of this could look like. Okay, so here's my current average earnings. So I have multiple income streams right now, and they're all at different stages. Some are emerging and some are stagnant. The best case scenario would be probably about £4,000 a month currently. Going forward, I don't know. My steadiest form of income is virtual assistant, and I'm a freelancer there. Currently it's about 300, but probably in the next month it'll go up to closer to 1,000 because I have taken on another client. Then we have freelance UX. This was part of my main career, and these jobs are quite hard to come by, and honestly, I haven't been putting in the effort to find them, but I have had a couple months where it was over £2,000, which is awesome. Next one is an emerging one, which is Airtable consulting, which I've just started doing. So in my corporate job, I use Airtable a lot to manage lots of project information and outcomes and just general data. And I fell in love with it. It's a cross between a relational database and a spreadsheet. The next one is mentoring for UX, and that's quite sporadic. And then there's YouTube. That's very sporadic. So my best month ever was £170 a month just on the ad revenue. And that was just about a year ago. and things sort of steadily declined. And I ended up taking a break for 5 months with no uploading. And in that time, people still watch my videos. I got £60 check for a period of about 5 or 6 months. But that, yeah, can't move on that. I worked really hard to get monetized, and I really enjoy making videos. And now that I've figured out a few things in my setup, I think it's going to be a lot more sustainable from that point of view. Yeah, it would just be crazy to walk away from YouTube. Hello. And then lastly, I have some interest coming in from savings accounts, about £100 a month. Let's say my typical month is about £1,600. That's probably going to go down before it goes up. So I'm actually not even pursuing this UX stuff right now. So that's going to reduce my income in the short term, but it's going to let me focus on things that can build my future income. So the question is this actually sustainable? And yes, but only because I'm house sitting. And I also have a savings cushion. I think if I didn't, then I'd probably be forced to go back to full-time work or just take on as much paid work as possible and forget about, shove aside my dreams of being more of a self-employed person. And yeah, my savings have dropped a lot. It's been 2 years and I've spent a lot of time finding my feet. It feels like my spending and my income are very close, but it could swing either way. If you find this interesting, let me know, because I could do another video at the end of the year and just sort of see how it's all shaped up. However, let's say for the moment I still have the energy to do this house sitting full time, and I don't go too crazy on spending money on coats and things like that, then I think it is sustainable. Yeah, I mean, this isn't a crisis. It's a plan. I know my numbers. I know my timeline now. I am actively working to close the gap between surviving and thriving. When you're saying yes to one thing, you're saying no to another thing. So yes, I could take on more virtual assistant hours, but it's going to mean that I'm not working on my long-term business goals. And those things have much higher revenue potential. Seriously. So I tried travel coaching and I tried pursuing my own UX clients as opposed to partnering with an agency or someone else, and it's tough to get established. And I know, well, that's the same for any kind of self-employment. It's really tough to get established, and I've been trying various things out. And anyway, I think I'm hopefully settled down on which direction I'm going to go in. Now, I am genuinely passionate about family history and genealogy. I have another YouTube channel in its baby years over on Ancestor Audit. Yeah, I genuinely believe that every self-employment path starts slow. It's just picking the right one. And I don't want to go into too many directions at once because nothing specifically is getting the attention it needs, which is a bad thing. So I mentioned my pension. So the long game is I'm in the fortunate position. I have 2 pension pots in the UK. Neither big enough that I can just retire now because, wow, that would be sweet. And so they're going to continue to grow. I also have a Roth IRA in the US, which is teeny tiny. And I have a brokerage account in the US, also pretty tiny. I was so bad about this when I was younger, but I'm keeping an eye on it now. I do wish that somebody had sat me down properly and said, look, these high yield savings accounts are fine, but they're great for an instant access type of thing. But what you really want is something that's going to grow over time. And yeah, I mean, I guess I did the best I could at the time. And yeah, my situation is a little bit complicated as well because I'm a US citizen living abroad. I'm a UK tax resident, which means there's some rules and restrictions about what I can invest in and not invest in. So something like a stocks and shares ISA in the UK is not available to me. If you're curious about the whole US citizen abroad financial complexities, I made a whole video about that, which I'll link up here. I'm actually happy to show you the rate of returns I have on this investment stuff. And I mean, 9.9 is pretty darn good. And on my high yield savings, I was getting 3.5, something like that. So it's pretty significant. Even the ISAs right now, I think the best one I can get is about 4.15%. So my God, this is double, more than double. So if you happen to be younger watching this, I strongly urge you to consider putting some money into some kind of growth account like this. No, I'm not an investor. I mean, I'm definitely not an expert on this. I'm just saying this is going to make a difference. I just wish I'd done more sooner, you know? So right now, yeah, the overall, I would say this is a sustainable situation as long as I can avoid or minimize dipping into my savings too much. Although I do want to live and enjoy my life. Like, we don't know what's around the corner, do we? I mean, eventually I will want to have a home base somewhere. I don't know what that's going to be like. I don't know where it's going to be. That's down the road. Probably not the US and possibly not the UK either. So, I mean, we'll see. Okay. So, is it worth it? Yes. For me, it is. I mean, it's obviously a personal decision. A lot of people couldn't contemplate not having a home base, and that's fine. That's fine for you. For me, I get a buzz out of seeing new places, and I was spending stupid amounts of money moving houses anyway, like not buying and selling houses, um but moving between rented properties for the most part. And this works for me. I also don't want to exchange all of my free time for money. So this lets me pursue some of my passions and I don't know, just kind of like focus a little bit more on my physical health, which is something that got ignored for a long, long time. Well, most of my life because just all the sitting down you do when you work in a corporate job, it takes a toll. So I think the takeaway is know what the minimum amount of money you need to live on and understanding whether you can cover that. And if you have like savings, what's that runway? Like, do you have like 1 year of living expenses, 5 years, something like in there would be good. You want your income to cover your spending, ideally with something left over. So, whatever enough looks like for you, know that number and enjoy your freedom. If this was useful, a like, a comment, or hitting subscribe would be very helpful to support my channel, and I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.